Hello, Instagram. I am so excited to have this conversation, and my baby, Ariella, is joining because there's no one home, and I mistimed the live because I'm a new mom and I haven't got my day worked out yet because I thought my husband would be home, but he's not. And Ariella needs a feed, and hopefully she'll be quiet. If not, say lovey. That's how it goes. I'm excited to invite an incredible coach, Rachel Burnham, who's coming on here, and Aimee Baron, who leads the incredible organization I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, or account, but she's talking about, we're talking together. I just want to get them to invite them. Hang on one second. I see one of them. There she is. You have to request Rachel to join. If you could put a request in to join, as well as, is she here? Yes, she's here. So if you guys can, if Aimee and Rachel, can you request to join the live? Because for some reason I can't invite you. I don't know why. Hang on. Search, suggested, invite. And I can't find the other one. Hang on. Where is she? Oh, she's joined. Hello. Where is Aimee? I can't see her yet. Okay, she'll come on. Can you see her in here? She's not here yet. You look gorgeous. Wow. We are having a very important conversation tonight about pressure and dating. Oh my gosh, Refuah Shlema.
I'll mute myself.
Everyone is sick right now. Pressure and dating. There's different types of pressure. There she is. There's different types of pressure. Add as moderator. Is that what I'm meant to do? I don't know. Let me see. There we go. Invite. Yay. There's different types of pressure. There's pressure internally and there's pressure externally. And I think we've all experienced all of that before. And we're going to address some of these ideas. Hi, Aimee. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm sorry about the slow to come on. This is actually my first three-way live, so that's exciting. But Aimee, do you want to say a little bit about who you are and what you do? Just quickly, like literally do popcorn, a few of us, so people know who we are.
Absolutely, sure. So I'm Dr. Aimee Baron. I'm the founder and executive director of I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. We're a nonprofit that supports all people in the Jewish community on all different kinds of fertility journeys, period.
Beautiful. Okay, great. And Rachel?
Rachel Burnham, how are you? Nice to see everyone. I am a dating coach. I also work as a dating coach in the Inner Circle, and it's a real honor and pleasure to be here.
Beautiful. Okay, so today we are talking about a very important topic, which is pressure. Pressure with dating, and there's so much pressure. And as we're speaking, guys, if you want to share some of your experiences or questions, please feel free in the comments. But what we're excited to launch tonight is also an idea. I knew this would happen. I could feel it. Would you like some milk? I thought I'd feed her and I'll have it all worked out, put together. No one's home. So, but this is just how it goes. And there's pressure that we put on with dating. I think everyone knows I got married very late, and Rachel, you got married quite late, right? And I don't know about you, Dr. Baron.
I was going to say I got married at 27, so I wasn't a spring chicken either.
Right,
So
right. Okay, so then we all know that there's external objective pressure, and I guess we can talk a little bit to that, of pressure from parents, pressure from society, pressure from the shafchans, matchmakers, pressure from the biological clock ticking, and all sorts of pressures externally, as well as then that feeds into our internal pressure that we put on ourselves in general. So I don't know if you guys want to speak to that, but I experienced a ton of pressure when I was dating that was really, really harsh and really misplaced, I think, and coming from fear, coming from judgment, basically fear and judgment, a lot of it. And so I think that the reason why that's so dangerous is because that pressure stops a person in general from showing up as themselves to date. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy on some level, because if I'm dating from a pressured place, whether it's internal pressure oh my gosh, this guy's got to like me. I've got to get married because I'm so old and my biological clock's ticking, which is what I used to say to myself. Or whether I feel pressure because the shadchan's making me go out again and my parents want this to happen and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It means I'm not myself on a date. It means I'm just not my relaxed, centered self. And so therefore the chance of actual authentic connection is very slim. And then that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there's this pressure issue is a big, big problem because it's adding to already the challenge that people who are dating face, which is like, how do I have clarity and navigate it and, you know, all the other stuff. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? That's my initial thoughts. What are your thoughts on that? What's some of your experiences with that?
Rachel, why don't you go first?
Sure. So obviously everyone knows, you know, when you have that wedding to attend like the next day and you have nothing to wear. So you run to the store and you buy the first thing that you see that fits. And it's not your favorite. You don't love it. It was way overpriced, but you're desperate. So you just had to take it because what else was there, right? Everyone knows the best time to get a really great outfit is when you don't need it. It's on sale. It fits. You love it. And you put it away for when you actually need it because you bought it because you loved it, not because you were under pressure, right?
Right.
So none of us make a good decision on any level when we're feeling like we're under pressure. And so the biggest decision of your life, like even more so to feel like we're under pressure for something that weighted and that important seems crazy to me. And it's also crazy to me that there seems to be like a perfect time for anyone to get married. Like the perfect time for anyone to get married is when Hashem decides that we're ready to get married, or when Hashem decides that your zivug is ready for you. And so there's no like, oh my gosh, I'm so old, the pressure, all my friends, you know, all of that. It just doesn't have to happen. What ends up happening is because our lives are very much tied to our social network and we're so used to doing everything with our friends in kindergarten and elementary school and high school. So then we go to the same camps and we wear the same outfits. And then when that plane hits the tarmac after seminary, and then all of a sudden, a lot of people get engaged, because it does happen that sometimes people get engaged right away. And we're very happy for them, that we think there's something wrong with me because it happened to them. And now there's something wrong with me. I did something wrong. I'm bad. I'm somehow flawed. Instead of feeling like it's just not my time yet. And when my time will come, it will come. But that's not yet. And that's okay. And so that's, I think, the harsh reality of watching our lives just kind of as we grow up and everyone's lives go in different direction. And some people will get that first job and others won't. And some people will have kids right away and some people get married right away. And some people have, you know, medical challenges, and everyone's lives will go in different ways. And that's okay. That is exactly the way it should be. There's no cookie cutter life for everybody. And so if we're able to just like internalize that and relieve the pressure, I feel like we can date from a place of calm, a place of confidence, a place of, I really want to get married for the right reasons, and not feel like I have to, I must, there's something wrong with me if I don't, the judgment, I'm never going to have children. Like all of that can just, you know, mount so much that it takes us away from our goal, which is connecting to our soulmate and finding the right person at the right time.
I wish I had you around when I was dating.
I wish I had me around when I was dating.
I really did. I never heard that ever when I was dating. And I'd love to hear from anyone watching what some of your pressure is that you felt and that you've been told, and things that people have said to you that were like just totally off the wall or just really hard to deal with. Like if you want to drop it in the comment, love to see it, to see if we're like on the right track or there's something we haven't thought of as far as when it comes to pressure. But I just want to say Rachel and I now work together in the Inner Circle, which is we're trying to create an environment that treats singles with the dignity, the respect, the pressure-free environment with shadchans who are very caring and get back to you and are responsive and really try and think up someone that matches you. You know, we're really trying to create that. We're expanding our team to include more people. So if you know someone that must be included, please let us know. And my baby is definitely not, she wants the attention. I know, I don't blame you. Okay, yeah, that's so cute. So this was not planned, guys. I'm so sorry. This is very unprofessional, but I thought it's better to do the live like this than not. And I think people find her cute, so it's okay. But so yeah, so Rachel and I, because I didn't mention, you mentioned Inner Circle. I don't think people know what that means. We're trying to really create an environment where you can date from your best self and be supported and empowered. That's really the goal. And we do that through courses and coaching and one-on-ones and shadchans, and you know, we all work together. So it's not like you're on your own running around to different people alone and feeling alone in the journey. We really want to support you. And we just had someone just get engaged who did my course, saw, I think, Stacy, my deeper coach, my other coach, that does the deeper work, and sent her guy she was dating to our male coach, and they all got engaged and they all had a fabulous time, and they felt very supportive, and they loved it. So anyway, that's what we do, just to tie that in for what we both do. And Raquel is the most phenomenal dating coach as far as the right perspective, and she'll get into all the nitty gritty with you and the practical stuff. And then if you have to work through deeper blocks internally, then that's the stuff that I do, just to make a distinction. And even though there's an overlap, but anyway, let's continue with pressure. Amy, what do you think?
First of all, I just really want to acknowledge so many of these comments, which are just so heartbreaking. Like, right, I've heard all of these things that you've been talking about. I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of traffic, and the only option is to listen to a podcast. I mean, like things like, "Who do you think you are?" and "You're too picky," right? I just wrong family, wrong background, wrong school, etc. And someone's also asking, is this live going to be
Yes,
saved? So Jackie,
I'm going to put it on our feed, and I'll share it with you, so it'll be on all our feeds. Yep.
okay. The real question is, what am I doing here? Because I am not a dating coach. Let me be very clear. I am not a dating coach, although to be, perfectly transparent, I have a daughter who is now in the Parsha. So I have just sort of entered the world from the other side. Now, thinking about this as she's still very young, let me be very clear, but thinking about this from that perspective. But again, what am I doing here? The reason why I'm here is because the pressure that we haven't spoken about is the biological clock's pressure, right? That pressure, and me being a medical doctor, I'm a pediatrician by training, it's something that we learn in medical school. So the reality is that as a woman, and we'll talk about the men in a second, but as a woman, we know that from the time that we are born, that we have the entire number of eggs we will ever have in our entire life, that our eggs are with us literally at the moment that we're born. And from the time that we start our period, that means that there was an egg that was dropped and that egg was not fertilized, therefore you're not pregnant. And so you get your period. And so every month from the time that you start menstruating, I'm sorry, I'm using like technical jargon here, but from the time that you start getting your period, the number of eggs that you have go down and down and down. And we know also that there is this precipitous drop. It kind of like goes down, but then here, actually, maybe let me show it this way better. It kind of goes down, like from the time that you get your period, it goes down like this. But we know definitively that in most women, not all women, but in most women, from the time that they turn 35, it kind of goes like this. And then it just continues going down.
Yeah.
And so there is this real time clock where people are thinking, I'm getting older. Am I going to be able to have that family that I wanted? Whether you wanted one child or whether you wanted 10 or 15. As you get older, the reality is that because the eggs aren't as plentiful as they were when you were younger, it is possible that you might not be able to have the family you want if you're only thinking about your fertility and getting pregnant. Whether you're looking for a partner or not looking for a partner, but here we're talking about marriage. If you're trying to get pregnant at the age of 40, it's very different than a person who's trying to get pregnant at the age of 20. And so there is a real biological clock problem for women. Now, I want to also just mention the men because it's not as if that doesn't exist for them. Yes, can men into their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s plus, can they father children? Yes. Do we also know that sperm degrades in terms of its quantity, in terms of its quality, in terms of its motility, and all of these other features that we look at in terms of sperm? Absolutely. So why aren't we having this? Why aren't the men feeling the same pressure? Because the reality is that it's not as significant for them as it is for us. So speaking as a woman, I heard all the time, well, you better start having your kids young. Like we all hear this. You better start having your kids very soon, one after the other, because when you get to be whatever that age is, then you're not going to be able to have the ones you want because you're not going to have the eggs anymore. So yes, we have to talk about all of the pieces that Jackie talked about and all of the pieces that Rachel talked about, but the biological clock is also a piece of this.
Right. And let's not forget that, and this is painful to say, but I experienced it a lot, is that when you get over the age of, I don't know what the age is, I would say early to mid 30s, then it starts to affect the dates you can get, because that's the first thing that a guy says, right? So even though we know children are for sure, I know, are up to God, right? They're up to God. And there's plenty of problems in marriages other than, children. Nothing is guaranteed. And all this stuff that often dates are nixed because of a guy's perspective on the age, regardless of anything else. And I think that that's also a problem. So then that increases the pressure. Yes, that increases the pressure. So I think that's an important thing to acknowledge. And that's part of the reason that motivated this amazing Rachel to come up with, start thinking of solutions. Like, what can we do to make this easier? What can we do to make this a little bit better? And that's really what we want to talk about tonight. I don't know if we want to introduce it now, or we want to talk a little bit more about pressure in general, if people want to ask questions. Do you guys want to share anything else?
Should we launch into it and then we'll take some questions at the end?
Yeah, I think we should launch into it.
Okay.
So Rachel, take it away.
So first of all, just to couple things. I want to just reflect one more piece about pressure. There is a lot of pressure out there, and that pressure is not going to go away. We're never going to change people. We're not going to change all the shadchanim. We're not going to change all the people who say comments that are not appropriate. We're not going to change everyone's image. What we can change is ourselves. And you can build yourself a nice, thick coating of what I call like just a thick Teflon coating and allow it to just slide off. I'm sorry. Like when comments were coming my way, like, when you have a ring on your finger, I'll be happy to hear what you have to say. When I'd be like in a family gathering somewhere and I had a comment that it was an opinion that had nothing to do with marriage, it had maybe something with current events or a topic that we were all discussing. When you have a ring on your finger, then we'll be happy to hear what you have to say. Or you're not getting any younger, like, am I going to die before you get married? Like these kinds of comments, we're not changing people from saying these very painful comments.
By the way, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you just because this is actually a big piece of the work that I do. We at I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, we actually are trying to have these kinds of conversations on our platform and in lots of sensitivity trainings that we do in communities and to rabbinic networks at workplaces in lots of spaces. We are trying. However, Rachel is 1,000% right. Is it going to be perfect? We're one organization. There are many other people trying, but there are still, these comments are going to continue to come. Sorry, I just wanted to.
No, I'm so happy that you said that.
Before we launch in, also Tzipora Grodko is really trying to change the conversation. Really trying.
For sure.
Right.
A lot of amazing people are trying to change the conversation, and the conversation is shifting. Like it takes time for anything new to shift. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for it to shift, and it is slowly shifting, I think it's important to know your value, to know your worth, to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world and is the only real shadchan out there. And to create that Teflon coating, kind of like let the comments flow off because you know who you are. You know that you have your person waiting for you and nothing is going to be able to change that. So that is one way to handle some of the pressure that I think is important to just note. Like you can be in control of how to manage that pressure.
Exactly. And that's where I will put in, because it's the right time just to mention it, that's what I deal with. I deal with the deeper focus internally. You can't change other people. You can't change your timeline, but you can change internally how you react and respond. And the biggest, I would say, weapon to that pressure, to fight off that pressure is a place of surrender internally. And we know that any test is about bitachon, right? Any test, whether it's children, getting married, parnasa, health, whatever it is about trusting Hashem in the darkness, right? We're going into Purim right now. It's perfect timing for this conversation. But that's really about surrender, about letting go, letting God, trusting, and being able to build that actively. And I will drop in that because of that, I've had so many requests for different types of work around this, both from actually married women having children, interestingly, since I've had the baby, and obviously singles, because that's what I do most of the time. is that I'm going to launch a 4-week series on surrender, on how to surrender, like surrendering series of like literally we're going to focus on this. We're going to go in. It's going to be experiential. I'm going to put it in my stories after this live. And I think it's starting in 2 weeks. So you're going to go through Purim. Purim's really powerful for this anyway. We can talk about that later, another time. But in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to do a 4-part series, mini series on surrender, let go, let God.
I'm coming.
And we all
Me
need to work
too.
on it constantly, but
We all need to work on it.
of course,
we all need to work on it
every day, and it's just that the game, the goalposts change and the game changes. That's it, but it's the same practice.
As soon as you hit that mile marker, it moves. Exactly.
It's like one of those video games, you know, like the next line, the next thing. But it's true. That's how Hashem builds us. Hashem builds us because the stronger we are internally, the bigger we are in actualizing our potential. And that's really what we're on the planet for. But let's not get too existential and deep and philosophical. Let's hear from Rachel about what we can do about it.
Okay, let's get down to it. So I'm a very practical person, and this was actually, I know you're not going to believe me, but this was actually inspired by my male clients. Okay. Wow. This was inspired by my male clients. I had many guys asking me constantly. I really want to go out with her. She sounds like a great girl. This really is really in alignment with what I'm looking for. I have one big problem. Her age. I'm not comfortable with her age. And so most people would say, okay, fine, we'll find someone who you're comfortable with. And instead of that, I said, why are you not comfortable with her age? Tell me the reason. And they said, one reason, fertility. That's my only reason. She doesn't look old. She doesn't act old. She looks beautiful. None of that's a problem. I'm only concerned about fertility. She's 35, 37, 39. I'm just concerned. So I had this conversation with so many male clients. So I started to ask them, what if you knew that she had already done cryopreservation? She's already done egg freezing. What if you knew that? And they all said it would be a massive game changer. Because if I knew that, I want to go out with this girl. I think she's great. And I think she's really a lot of what I'm looking for. And I'm excited about it. I'm just nervous about that piece. So after hearing this from so many guys, and by the way, I thought about this idea years ago, and me just being a busy person and having my own busy life and kids, and I just didn't have time to really do anything about it. And the guys were making me crazy. They kept on calling me and emailing me. Did you do anything about it? Are you launching it? When's this happening? And honestly, I am doing this because they are the ones who really inspired me and pushed me to do this. And it's because I know from their end that this would really help them, that I know that it will really help the girls. So this is the idea. It's very simple. It's free. I'm not making money off of this. It's so simple, ladies. It's almost embarrassing.
But that's why it's so brilliant in a way. Like, although I know everyone's going to have all sorts of reactions. And it's okay to have every reaction you have. And
you can have all the feels. Bring it. We want all the feels. Okay. So some of you are initially not going to be happy with this, and that's fine. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. Basically, it is a simple icon. It looks like an arrow with a little, like a circle with a little arrow, which basically you put on your resume next to your name. It's very small. It's very discreet. It doesn't say anything. It's just a symbol. And all it means is I froze. That's it. Don't ask me any more questions. I don't want to share any more information. I am not giving you my deep medical history and how many eggs I retrieved. No, that is inappropriate. Do not ask that. But I froze. And the point of this is, ladies, we're not here interested in your personal medical history. The point of this is only one thing. The one thing is to get our older, most spectacular, wonderful girls more dates. That is it. That is the goal, to get more dates. That it should lead to something further down the line. If guys know that you froze, and I know from the hundreds of guys who begged me to do this because they have been making me crazy for years, honestly, if they knew that you froze, they would be fine with going out. They would like to go out. Now, here's the problem. A girl doesn't want to tell because she's uncomfortable. A shadchan doesn't want to ask because it's awkward. A boy is certainly not going to ask. And therefore, if I'm looking at a bunch of resumes and I see 32, 35, 38, and they all look okay, I'm just going to take the 32
Right.
or the younger, whatever the younger is, because it's just easier. I don't have to think about this piece as much. But if I saw a resume that was 37, 38, and I saw the icon on it, I'm like, oh, she froze. Okay, I'd be okay with that. And that is something that just kind of calms the guys down to know that. Not that they need to know all your deep medical history. That is not their business right now. But just to be able to know that, I believe, and I've spoken to obviously many rabbanim and dating coaches and shadchanim, and everyone is like really excited about this idea. Why? Because they want you to get more dates. So I know there's going to be pushback, and we want to hear the pushback. We want to discuss it. We want to get into it. But that is the basic idea. And again, only one goal. It's simple. It's free, just to be able to get more dates going out and not make the dating about your age, make it more about you. The point is to get this topic off the table. Yes, I froze. Here's the icon. Now we can move on to actually getting to know each other and see if there's a potential relationship here. That's it. We're not looking to dwell on this more than is necessary.
Do you have the icon with you?
Oh yeah, let me, well, it's on my phone.
Rachel has been running around to all sorts of rabbanim and all sorts of people, like talking this out with very, very like wise, experienced people. And nothing's going to be perfect, but I think that this. Oh, thank God! Sorry, she needed to burp. But I think that, did I just freeze? Did someone froze? Rachel froze. Yeah. Okay, she'll come back. Oh, because she's getting it off her phone. That it just is a simple thing. It's just a simple thing where it gets you out of a conversation and gives a chance for potentially more dates, and I think Rachel said a great analogy before. It's just like a picture. You don't have to send a picture with your resume. Some people have a problem sending the picture with the resume. Some people say that other people sending a picture is going to put them at an advantage rather than me if I don't want to send a picture. And that's all okay because we get choice around it. But it's just like that, meaning you don't have to do this.
Nobody has to do this. We're not forcing anyone to do anything they don't feel comfortable with. This is just another means to be able to help someone with their own hishtadlus. If I feel like, and by the way, going through egg freezing is not simple. It's expensive. It's emotionally draining. It's physically painful for some, not all, but some.
It's
right? And so it's emotionally very confronting. This is what I'm up to in my life. I can't believe it. It's really, really hard. And so if you've already done it, and it's behind you, let it work for you in more ways than one. Right. Like instead of just sitting in the freezer, let it draw up some dates for you. Why not? It can only help you. It's not going to hurt you. So I feel like you've already done it. Now, for those who haven't done it, that's a different conversation, whether or not they feel they're ready or they should or they can afford it. And that's not our conversation right here.
For those just tuning in, Sasha's just saying, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Go ahead.
We wanted just to summarize, we're talking about the pressure of dating and how Rachel has come up with one solution as an initiative that's free for anyone who's frozen eggs before, to put a little icon on your resume that's got a gorgeous little icon she created. It's very like dignified, and it's got nothing to do with it's not embarrassing or anything. It's just like a little circle with going to the future. It's really cute, about preserving your future, which is the name of it.
I'm trying to figure out how to share this on the live. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't have a picture icon that lets me share a picture, but we can send it out when we send out the live.
Or we'll put it on the. I think you should put it on your feed.
Okay.
You should post it on your feed as a post, and then we'll share it.
I'll post. Perfect. It's very simple. It's just an arrow. That's it.
It's an arrow that goes around, and Amy.
The initiative is called. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
The initiative is called Preserving Our Future. It's been backed by many Rabbanim, such as Rabbi Willig, Rabbi Sopolovsky, Rabbi Aaron Lopiansky, Rav Kalman Epstein, and many more. We're still accruing a list of Rabbanim. I haven't gotten pushback from one Rav yet. Everyone's very, very excited about it. Shadchanim are thrilled about it. The boys are the most thrilled about it because, ladies, they want to go out with you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's their mitzvah. Peruvu is their mitzvah, and it's scary for them to entertain going out with somebody who's older if that's going to be the issue. But if that's off the table and that's not the issue, they want to say yes. And that's the really good news about this, is that just letting them know could be a real game changer. And that's really the goal, just to,
without having to have the conversation.
We don't have to have the conversation. Right. You see the icon, and that's all. No conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really just want to address the people in the room and just the people in our community who do not have the ability to freeze, who are now going to say, well, this is going to put more fresh pressure on me that I didn't really want to freeze, and now I'm going to be, penalized because all these other these other resumes and all these other people have frozen already. And to all of those people out there that are feeling like this is just one more thing that they're feeling singled out from, literally speaking, I think, like, my heart just goes out to you. Like, look, if you are someone who this is not a possibility for you financially, for medical reasons, for psychological reasons, whatever the reason is that you have not frozen your eggs, and or you cannot freeze your eggs, my heart goes out to you. I am sure that you have already dealt with all of the grief and the heartache of knowing that you're getting older and this is not a possibility for you. And I wish that there was something that we could do to make you feel better. What I can say is that this is this initiative specifically is for the people who have done it, who have the capacity, who have already done it, to give it to them, to allow them to be able to share it, and for this information to be able to be given over to the men or to Shadchanim in a dignified, sneeze, modest way. For those of you who can't, for those of you who are unable, for whatever reason, that's still going to be the case. That is still something that you're going to have to grapple with. And at I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, we're here to hold you and support you in all of that, no matter where you are in this process, and no matter whether you choose or you can't even choose to freeze your eggs or not. However, this specific initiative is for the people who have the ability or who have done it already, so that they can share it, so we can get people more dates. That's the purpose of this.
So I really appreciate you saying that. I want to just add to that by saying, like we were saying before, it's like a picture. Do I think a picture can enhance a resume? I do. Do some people feel uncomfortable with a picture? They do, and they don't put pictures, and there are lots of people who don't put pictures, and they also get married. So this is something that could only help you. It's not going to harm you. But if you don't do it, it's not like you're never getting married and you're never having children. And this used to be more personal information, but because it seems to be giving a lot of people a lot of chizuk, and I've been getting a lot of comments about it, I'm just going to personally share my own personal very quick journey. I was dating my husband when I was 33, and it was only starting to become more common that people were doing it around that time. Nobody was really doing it when I was 30. About 33, 34, I went out to eat I went to go get some food one day, and I walk into the restaurant and I see a group of my friends sitting down, and they're like, hey, come over, sit down and join. And what's the conversation? Egg freezing. What doctor, which injection, who are you watching the eggs? And I was just like, what is even going on? It was like, it literally hit me like a flood. Now, I happened to have been dating my husband at the time. And I knew that if I didn't marry him, like, that was going to be my next step, because clearly that was like where I was at. And I was really kind of running away from facing it. But then I kind of walked into this restaurant. All my friends were sitting there, and like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, that's not the reason I married my husband, but conveniently, I did not have to freeze at that time. And just to give people chizuk, I just want to let people know, I got married at 34. I did not have my first child until I was 37. I had my second child at 39. I had my third child at 41. Wow. And I had my fourth child at 43. Wow. I had no help. I had no IVF. I never froze. When Hashem wants something to happen, it can also happen.
That's amazing.
And so I want that to be chizuk for people. If you need to hear that, I want you to hear that. There are different ways to have children. You might have an amazing story like Jackie. You might have a challenging story. Yeah. Right, but still, you froze, but still, like, it wasn't, just getting married and getting to that journey, like, that's still challenging, right?
It was a whole ordeal. Yeah, and
I think all three of us represent very, very different cross sections of different journeys, right? I did not freeze, and Aimee had her personal challenges, and Jackie had her challenges, so it's not like a one size fits all. Doesn't have to work
Right.
for everybody, but it could work for many,
Right.
and that's the goal.
And,
Right. Beautiful.
and I'll also just share, just while we're speaking about different pathways to parenthood, right? There is also adoption. There is also donor conception, where you get a donor egg, a donor sperm, donor embryo. I'm not going to deal with the halachic issues of that now. You will speak to your Rav, your posek about that, but it is allowed according to many poskim. So there are other ways to be a parent if your own eggs or your own sperm are not working for whatever reason. But we're here tonight to specifically talk about egg freezing and what the possibilities could open up for someone who has already done it, is doing it, and wants to be able to share it in a dignified way.
And by the way, sorry, Pua, this is hard. Pua told me, sorry, now you're awake. Oh gosh. Pua told me that they fund singles getting egg freezing, because apparently people were saying they don't know who funds it if you're single.
Also, yes.
Also, a time.
So Pua does. Bonei Olam has a fund for it, and A Time also has a fund
Amazing.
for
Thank
egg
God.
freezing now for
There
singles.
are private donors who have given huge amounts of monies in order to give stipends to singles. Yes.
Right.
Beautiful. So that financials shouldn't be the reason that you feel like you can't do it. Yeah.
Correct. Look, it is still costly. It's not free. I
Yeah.
want to be very clear. It is not free, but there are stipends that are available through these organizations. I do want to make one thing clear, because my audience is of people from the entire Jewish community and people who and therefore if I, if you use any one of these organizations to help financially in terms of freezing your eggs, they do actually make you sign a contract that says that you will not use any of those eggs outside the confines of marriage, meaning
Wow.
that you have to be married in order to use them. You cannot choose them. You cannot use them to become a single mother by choice. So I just want that to be knowledge that people should know if they're listening to this. For some people, it's amazing to know that there is a subsidy around this. For other people, they still would want that door open for them, and then that's not available for them. So I really just wanted to make that clear.
Awesome. Okay,
Very
guys,
interesting.
let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I want to take some questions and see where people are at with this.
What do you guys think about putting an icon next to your name if you've already frozen your eggs, so you don't have to have the conversation, but it opens up more dates for you? That's really what Rachel's launching here, and we're going to have to do a whole marketing campaign to get this out to shadchans as well.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to hear what people's reaction is to this.
I think I'm just going to draw it and show everybody.
Oh yeah, draw it and show everyone.
And in the meantime, I'll read a question that came up earlier. It says, one of my students who I've been tutoring since he was in 3rd grade got engaged yesterday. And this topic really resonates with me. Do you have any hints on not feeling this overwhelm as I really want this to?
Yeah. So the overwhelm is when we compare ourselves, right? Like someone else got engaged and now I feel something, as opposed to, I like the mantra of I'm exactly where I need to be for me to become the person I need to be to have the marriage I want. Meaning the reason why a lot of people aren't married, I mean, we don't know the reason, to be honest. So anyone who tells you why you're not married, I always say run the other way. Because you don't know, because there's a bigger picture going on always, and you don't know what's going on for the other person, the guy, the girl, like you don't know what's going on. But we do know that we're on the planet to develop ourselves. We're on the planet to become the best version of ourselves. And marriage is actually the vehicle that God created as one of the ways to become the best version of yourself. And so if you're not married, it means by definition that God thinks that you're becoming the better version of yourself outside of marriage. And you're single by design and not by punishment. And that's a big epiphany for many people, that you're single by design, or let's talk about not having a baby yet by design, or not have whatever it is, whatever test you're in, it's by design, not by punishment, because that's where you're growing the most, even though it's not fun and it's painful. And that's valid. You don't have to be happy always about it, but it's by design. And I think that when people start to really try to internalize and work on, I'm talking to myself as well, this is where I need to be right now today, is I need to be working on myself, and I need to be developing myself, and I can do this best in my situation right now. And if I was married or had a baby right now or whatever, it would not have developed me the best so far, even though it's a very hard pill to swallow. It's very hard to swallow that. Sometimes it's just very hard to accept that. But that's also saying that it's very hard for me always to accept things that I don't want, or when something doesn't go my way, and I have to really surrender, here's that key word again, my will to God's will. It's really hard, but that's called surrendering the ego, right? My neshama, my soul, absolutely aligns with God and wants what God wants, so to speak. My ego is the thing that says, no, I'm right. God, you're doing it wrong. I should have been married by now. I should have been pregnant by now. I should have had a whatever by now, right? And believe me, I had enough of those moments. I've had a lot of those moments. And I'm sure I will continue to have those moments, about other things. But it's a constant practice of surrendering, you know best. I'm going to accept my lot today. This is where I need to be today to become my best version of myself. And there's nothing wrong with me. Because I think the thing that we do is that when something else happens that we want, we naturally go into, because I don't have it, there's something wrong with me, which is what Rachel said at the beginning of this live. And it resonates with all the wounds of not good enough and all sorts of things inside of us. And so that's when we spiral down the rabbit hole into the darkness. And that's the work that I do in my course in my general course around building that inner sense of self, so that you can have the Teflon effect. I love that, as Rachel says, the Teflon effect, where I'm strong inside, and just because someone else gets engaged, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. It might remind me I want that. It's in my face, but it doesn't mean anything about me. And we want to separate that, because that's very important. I mean, and it's the truth. The bottom line is, it is the actual truth. It's not just to feel good. Anyway, that's mine.
And I think it's such a gift that retroactively, after many people get married, they look back and they understand, not fully, we're not a Kadosh Baruch Hu, but we look back and we say, wow, I really never could have married that person, because I know for myself and I know for Jackie, both of our husbands were married for most of the years that we were dating. So it's kind of a joke. Like I could not have dated my husband. He was like not available at all. I was the first girl that he dated after his wife passed away.
Wait, I just got to say something hilarious, because the single people will love this. I had literal fantasies of going back to all my pushy shachans that made me say, well, that's why you're not married. They said to me when I said no to suggestions, and going, see, like I had like fantasies of the things I wanted to run back to them and tell, I had to let it go. Like I had to actively let it go. So it's okay. They'll have to face a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the next world. Like I just had to, but like I was just like, it was so validating that I got married to a great guy, and he was so great, and he was good looking, and like we got along great, and I really loved him. Like all this nonsense that I was told, I'm still charged about it, but like all this nonsense about your attraction can come later, you got to build the man, stop being so accomplished, stop being so successful,
stop being yourself. Essentially, don't be yourself.
I call it pretzeling. You're twisting yourself into a pretzel. What's wrong with me? I'm not doing something right. Maybe. Oh my God.
People told me like, oh, I'm a doctor. I'm never going to find anyone. You're too strong. You're too smart. You're too this. You're too that. Yeah. The whole thing. The pretzel. I love that.
The pretzel.
Great analogy.
Pretzeling. Yeah. No, don't pretzel. Your husband will love you for you as you are, even with disabilities. People contact me with disabilities. What do I say? Your husband will think that's incredible, that you have this strength, and that despite the disability, you're who you are. That's who your husband is. If a guy doesn't feel that, he's not your husband. Let it be a filter.
Yes.
Let everything be a filter. If a guy dumps you because you're old, then he's not your husband, because your husband won't mind that, right? So we really have to see it from that place of strength. But then the problem is, in this generation, a lot of us haven't built that foundation of strength. And that's what I want to teach people, because you really can build it pretty quickly if you start to change how you respond to yourself. You can build. We don't realize how we respond to ourselves continues to keep us broken or feeling inadequate. It's a continuous cycle of the narrative, the story, the belief system that we had as a child that we perpetuate and continue. And when you start to actually change that in a very visceral, real way, very quickly, you can build that foundation of that sense of self very strongly internally, because guess what? You are okay. That you are connected to God. You are beautiful and lovable and good enough So when you just stop beating yourself up, you will feel that
And
pretty quickly.
you'll also attract better. You
Yes.
attract better
Oh,
quality
that's
people for you.
100%.
So now you look back and you say, no wonder why I couldn't date that guy, because I was in such a dark place. Like I never would have been able to attract this great guy. So retroactively, after you're married, you look back and a lot of things do make sense, which is a gift. It's helpful to be able to understand. I wanted to just pause and just show everybody, I don't know if you could
Yes.
see this. Okay, so this is just the icon. Sorry for the kind of unprofessional drawing, but I can't seem to share a picture here. So that's what it looks like. It's very simple. It could be, I made it big on the paper, but it could be very small, just next to your name. And that's it. It's it. You see it, you know, don't
I
ask me
love
any
that.
questions. I'm not volunteering
It's very,
information.
very dignified, and it's just like preserving the future without, anything
That's
else.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so I want to read some of these comments here. So a few of them are, two of them are basically the same, so I'll read them both. I like the icon idea, but it's one more thing a girl has to do in order to show a guy to say yes to
She doesn't
you.
have to do
And then someone else said, I think my concern is pressuring women to do yet one more thing to get dates. Until now, it's been a very personal choice. So I turn that to both of you.
Okay, so nobody has to do this. This is not something that is mandatory. Nobody has to do this. What I believe will happen, and again, not God, I don't know, but what I believe will happen is that as people start doing it more and they see that they are getting more dates, because this is something that men are curious about, it's an important thing, so it is something they're curious about. So as people get more dates, people might say, listen, I don't really want to do this. Frankly, it doesn't take so much effort to put it on. I think it's more of an emotional effort that I have to share it than it is actually just putting an icon on your resume. When those dates start to ramp up and you see that people are getting more dates, you might say, hey, this is something that I want to do too. Nobody has to do this. Nobody should feel pressure to do anything at all here. This is only meant to be an added area in which to help somebody if they feel like I froze and I want to use that not just to my benefit of having frozen, but to also double use that to my benefit. Now I'm going to use it to get dates. So if that's something that resonates with people, they should do it. And if not, don't do it. That's okay.
Right.
Just like a picture. Some people will put it and some people won't. And, there are reasons to do it and not do it on both sides. So everyone should do what they feel comfortable with.
Right. I have 100%.
Right. I mean, some other questions are things like, until this initiative becomes more popular, people are looking at resumes will wonder what it is, and then those awkward conversations are still
Oh,
going to have to
oh,
happen,
okay, great.
and then and that the icon will be confusing to people, so we're going to have to explain them. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
Okay, great. So I forgot to write this on the bottom. So what we're middle of working on right now is the icon is going to be like this. Okay. And it's going to say pofuture.org. You're going to put this little icon. I forgot to add that. And that is going to lead you to a very short one-page like URL, which is just going to explain what it is, because I don't want girls having to explain this to anybody. It's just going to be, we're in the middle of building it right now. It's going to be a one-page URL just explaining what it is for anyone who has any questions like, oh, what's that icon? You just go to pofuture.org. It'll explain it, and that's it.
Beautiful.
That was the way in which we came up with trying to manage anyone's awkward questions or
This is a really
make it
good
uncomfortable.
one that just came up here from Rivka Holzer event. Rivka Holzer. It's not that the icon is something you need to do. It's that I worry that it's an added pressure to freeze your eggs, which until this point has been a personal choice. Interesting. Culturally, it will become that
So
pressure.
I think that that's already happening.
Right.
I think that
I think
freezing is becoming more commonplace anyway. That I'm not talking about freezing. I'm talking for those who have, but I think it's becoming more commonplace. And people don't have to freeze if they don't feel comfortable. And there will always be people that do and people that don't.
I
But
And the
mean,
people who can't, like, I just want to
and
address
people
that,
who
those
can't,
people
for
also.
sure,
But
for
but
sure.
but but yeah, Rivka, I totally agree with Rachel here. The reality is everybody knows that people are freezing their eggs now. Everybody does in every community from the right to the left. And it's the first thing that shadchans asked. It's the first things that guys ask when you get to a certain age. Everybody at the end of the day still has free choice to do it or to not do it. No one's saying that you should or you shouldn't. And obviously the people who can't, let's just that is just the reality. What this is, what all the icon is it's not we believe, and Rachel has, vetted this with a number of different Rabbanim also. They believe that this is not creating any more pressure than what already exists. That this is just a very simple, hopefully easy way for people to know without getting into the details of the nuances and how much and did you and when did you and how did you and how old were you and how many eggs, whatever. It's just, did you? Didn't you? Great. You have it? Great. You don't have it? Then the conversation is not there. I think it's 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 never going to take away that. I think that that angst for someone who can't, or someone who hasn't done
Right.
it yet,
But
who is still on the fence, who may want to, who's considering it, maybe can't afford it. It still is going to have sort of the people who have done it and the people who haven't done it. What the icon is doing, and it's taking the people who have done it and it's giving them a little bit of an easier way to be able to share it so that these awkward conversations don't happen.
right.
Right.
And I want to add that for the people who can't do it or who don't want to do it, like this is just one area of Hishtadlus. Like Hashem still runs the
Right.
world.
Thank
People still have
you.
children. This is not the all end all. If you don't put this on, you're not getting dates.
Correct.
Like, let's not
And that's
play
wait, that's
God here.
that's a very important nakuda here, because we want to make that very clear in the hashkafa of surrender
Of
and trust in
course.
Hashem. This is a piece of his shishtadlus, and this
That's
will
it.
not determine that you do not get married. It will
Of
not. There's no
course
race.
not.
There's no
Of course
race.
not.
There's no
Just like
competition.
just
There's
like
no competition.
freezing is a choice if I should or shouldn't, right? I didn't. I have 4 kids, right? And and Jackie did, and like everyone makes their own personal choice, and so I think it's important to state people will still get married if they don't do this. If this is something that you feel will be a benefit to you and you feel comfortable doing it, then you'll do it, and
I,
if not, you won't.
I do want to add, though, psychologically and emotionally, that if someone is on the fence and isn't doing it because it is hard and it's emotionally confronting, which was me for many years. I froze at 37 and I wish I'd done it at 33, right? Because I can't have another baby and I wish I could. I wish I'd had more eggs and more embryos, like we had one shot. So I'm just saying that from my pain, I wish I'd done it earlier. Why didn't I do it earlier? It was too painful to confront, to go there. So if anyone's on the fence in their early to mid 30s, they're thinking about it, but it's hard and painful. So they keep pushing it off. I'll do it later, which is plenty of people. And I understand why. But let's say this icon now puts a little bit of clarity or focus on the fact that, hey, people who have done this are putting it on their resume. And there will be some women that will say, like, whoa, that might be the nudge they need if they're thinking of it on the fence to go and get it done. And honestly, I do think that's a good thing. I do. For the people that could do it, for the people that aren't doing it because it's emotionally difficult, maybe it's going to be more emotionally difficult to not have it on the resume for them, for that person that could do it. So for that person, it may help them to confront more quickly themselves rather than ignore it, right? I'm talking about the people who are just ignoring it because it's too hard, which I understand. I did it. I regret it. I wish I'd done it earlier. The pain I felt at 37 doing it, it wouldn't have been any different really to the pain at 33, 34, 35. It really wouldn't have. I just didn't do it. I didn't have anyone nudging me to do it. I didn't have these conversations. I didn't have a reason to do it. Like, did
And
I get rejected because I was old? Yes, I did many times.
but people weren't talking about it, so it wasn't like so much on your mind. If everybody, if
That's
all of your
true.
friend group was doing it at 33, you might have considered to
Correct.
do it,
Correct.
right? And so that would have nudged you. And I love your approach on it, which is like, don't think so deeply into it. Do it, get it done, put it behind you. It's over. Now you've done it,
You will
because it,
cry. You may
yeah.
cry that when you get it done on the day, and that's okay. You'll cry and then you'll get over it and you'll go, thank God I did it afterwards. Meaning I really nudged about 5 of my friends in their 30s after I did it. And I really pushed them to do it. And they all did it. And they all came back and said, thank you so much. Because after the fact, no one regrets that. It's before the fact that it's hard.
And I want to also share that we're not talking about the emotional aspects of egg freezing in a substantive way. We're kind of like, just mentioning it, but I there it is if you make the decision to freeze your eggs, it doesn't mean that you've given up hope that you're never going to get
Of course
married.
not.
It doesn't mean that you've given
Right.
up hope. If some people think like, oh, well, I can't do it because I'm going to meet my husband tomorrow. Or what about that next date? Or what about that next date? Great. great. It gives you, it only opens doors. So if it is a possibility, it's really it's a tremendous thing that you can do to preserve your future. And I also want to say that we at I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, we actually have a support group every month, a virtual support group for anyone who is considering or in the middle of the process who wants support from other people who are going through it.
That's
And
great.
Wow.
the person who runs that support group, she sometimes also meets with people one-on-one because they don't want to come to a group, which is fine. So there is support that you can get in a private, dignified way, even while you're going through it. And I know also these organizations that do offer some financial assistance, A Time, Pua, Bonei Olam, they assign a counselor to you, like someone in their organization who keeps track of you. And I know someone who went through it somewhat recently, and she said that after she had her egg freezing done and the procedure was finished, when she came home, there was a candy platter that was sent from them. Like these organizations, like, and we also in that group, like, we take care of you. So don't think that you're doing this alone. You have us. And look, if you ask your friends, probably a lot of them are considering that also. But know that there are people out there, and we are one of those people, those organizations that are out there to help you and support you.
This may actually bring out the point that more people are doing it than you actually realize.
Yeah.
Meaning, when I all of a sudden see that so many people are putting it on their resume, maybe that might wake me up and say, "Wow, I didn't realize that so many of my friends were actually doing this. Maybe this is something that I should do just to be able to have it, so that I can date without pressure," which is our whole conversation, to not have to think about that and just move on and put it behind me, but at least have that opportunity.
Dina says something really good. Hi, Dina. She said, I feel that the men are still not fully informed or understand what egg freezing means. And it doesn't make a woman any more desirable. And the topic even makes the woman even older in their eyes. Can you speak to that?
Right. And there are a lot of other comments about, like, what about men? Like, what about guys in their 40 who won't date the people over 35 because they're not aware? Or what about, just generally guys not really understanding? Like, it's a bunch of questions are all the same here.
Yeah.
So
So we
Rachel.
are certainly working on some education for men, because I think it's crucial. No, men do not have enough fertility education as they should, because it's not something that's on the forefront on their mind. As a woman, it's on the forefront of your mind. So we are working on ways in which to educate men more. I know that I personally educate a lot of guys all the time, especially the ones that I dated when I was 30 and told me, like, can you even have kids because you're like 30? Literally, I had guys say this to me on dates. Like, how many kids could you have? Like, as if I have like
That's
a
crazy.
crystal ball.
I'm
And
sorry.
like, even guys who dumped me because they thought I was not going to be able to have kids because I was like 32. And it's just funny now because now they're married and I have more kids than they do. And they married so much younger than me. Anyway, so these things always, get me because Yesh Elokim ba'olam. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is just the way it is. So, symbol or no symbol, freezing or no freezing. Like, I did not freeze, ladies. I did not freeze. I have 4 children. And guess what? I still wish I froze. I wish I froze because I would use them today. I would use them today. And I don't have any. I never did it. And I regret that. Even though I don't need it, I have a family, Baruch Hashem. I'm so blessed and thankful. But I really would have loved that opportunity to have more children. Like, that would have been great. So, even I would have used it. But you don't have to do this. Hashem runs the world no matter what. This is just an added area of Hishtadlus that for some people will feel very comforting to feel like they can actually have it used, not just for the eggs, but to be able to get dates. For some people, that feels very empowering.
Yeah. Awesome.
I want to also just address a couple of questions that have come in specifically about, like, the frozen eggs and like what happens in the process and so on. So this one last question here, can frozen eggs flop at IVF? If yes, then what now? So I want to come back to a point that all of us have been mentioning here. Hashem runs the world. At the end of the day, like it's our job to do our hishtadlus. And part of the hishtadlus, in order for some people to be able to have a family, hopefully, is to go through IVF, right? That's what some people have to do. They are not able to get pregnant on their own, and they have to go to a fertility doctor and go through IVF. For individuals who are single, and this is who we're talking about right now, freezing your eggs is one more thing in your arsenal that you will be able to access at a later point when maybe you would not have the number of eggs at that point in your life, right?
Right.
Now, I want to be clear about one thing from a medical standpoint. It is not the case that every frozen egg equals a child. That's not the way it
Right.
works. You need to have a number, and I'm specifically leaving it vague because these are conversations that each person should speak to their doctor about. But the goal is to freeze as many as possible so that, God willing, at some point down the road, you will be able to have a child or more than one child. Can frozen eggs flop when you thaw them and when they're at that point, when they're combined with a sperm? Yes. Can you get married, and can you get married at 22 and not be able to get pregnant? Also yes, right? So I think this is just one more thing in your arsenal that you could try to have in order to increase your chances at a later age, in order to be able for you to have a family. Nothing is a guarantee. Everything is in Hashem's hands. So
Right. Beautiful.
we offer this as a possibility. Medical science offers this as a possibility to increase chances, not for a guarantee.
Right. But I did feel, to be honest, once I'd done it, that it took the pressure off my dating. I did feel,
1,000%.
aside from, not because of getting more dates, I just felt that that biological clock ticking was just much, much milder. So I feel that you do it for that reason, as it takes the pressure off. I will have a natural way of having children later. I don't have to rush now because I feel the natural way is running out. And so it is natural with IVF. I mean, it's IVF is the procedure is not natural, but the eggs are natural. So I'm saying, so it really does take the pressure off dating for yourself to get it as well, to freeze your eggs.
100%. And I'll just sort of take this one step further. When I'm a person who is hopeful. So for all the people out there that are freezing their eggs, right? When you do get married, you don't automatically go into that bank, go and thaw your eggs and see, let's try to use them. People try naturally first, or they try, if for whatever reason it's not working, then they try a regular cycle of IVF and see what eggs are left, what the quality, what the quantity is, and see if they can use those. If all of those sort of regular, and obviously IVF is not regular, but if all of those processes aren't working and you're still not able to get pregnant, then you always have those eggs that are still in the freezer. They're not going anywhere. They're not getting older in the freezer. They're in the freezer. Period.
Exactly.
I have actually a close friend who got married older, and when she was younger, freezing was not even a thing. But she got married at 40 and she froze embryos,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And she has 2 kids from those embryos.
Wow.
Because of her doing that when she was, at the time 40 was like old for her, but she had those kids at like 46 and 48.
Wow.
So yeah.
We have a joke that like Ariella looks a lot like her dad. And I said that's because she was in the freezer for so long. It diluted the DNA a little bit. And then we'll see how and then we have all these jokes about how she's going to relate to the cold and feel like cold sensitive and oh my gosh, all this stuff.
Well, if you're living in LA, she's going to be cold sensitive. Yeah.
That's true.
It's so great.
Okay, guys, I think it's been a great conversation. I always
Thank
like
you.
lives. It's been about an hour already, and there is a lot to say. Amy, you want to add something?
I just wanted to close with, we're having this conversation about singles, about trying to help people get more matches, help people get more dates. I think, the other conversation that we kind of touched on a little bit was also just in general about sensitivity towards singles.
Yes.
Bichlal, right? And this entire icon, like this whole initiative was developed because of sensitivity, because Rachel wanted to take away those embarrassing conversations between shadchanim, between guys, between, like, just to take that away, that if you saw that icon, that you wouldn't have to think about it and you wouldn't have to ask, you would know immediately what it is.
Right.
I just wanted to add my little plug in the work that we do at I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, in terms of just also treating singles as people, even though they're not married yet. And I'm, again, a hopeful person. So remembering small things, and these are just like where Purim is coming. And so just some small things for everyone who's listening, right? Think about the people who are in your life who are not yet married, who may not have a Suda to go to. Invite them today. Don't invite them day of, don't invite them the day before. It shows that you're thinking of them. Invite them today to come to your Suda. Make a specific shalach manos for them. Drop it at their house instead of them having to come and pick it up. I know it's Friday. It's a terrible day. We're all like crazy busy and all of that. It is terrible. But like, instead of making 100 or 150 shalach manos and sending it to like every person you ever know, like, how about making a smaller number of shalach manos and sending it to people who really need them, because they're maybe feeling left out of community, of society, and they're not feeling loved. What about, and I'll give one more tiny example, Pesach is coming, right? And Pesach is a time when families get together and like everybody's cooking and everybody's tired and their kids are running around and everybody's cranky and all of that. And often it's the unmarried or the people who don't have kids yet who are the ones who are like, they're the ones in the kitchen. They have to clean, they have to help, they have to set up, they have to set the table. And like everybody else is like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I've been up all night with my kids. Or like, can you take them out for a walk? I really need to
I
take a
was that
nap.
single.
Like, right. And so was I. I think we all were. So I'm just here to remind all of you that singles are people too. They deserve to be treated with respect, with love. They also need breaks. They also need time off. Yes, they're so happy to be part of family and be included in your meals and your sudas and in your just general celebrations. But it's hard for them to watch everyone else with little kids or be paired off. So just please remember them as
Beautiful.
like, yes, like regular Shabbos is also, this all applies to that too. But, these big holidays coming up are really very triggering for people. So just don't forget about them.
Beautiful. Thank you. I think that's,
It just sounds so crazy to me when you say we need to treat them like
I know.
people. Like, it's crazy that we have to say that. Like, what does that mean?
Okay. This is the problem.
Yeah.
This is the problem we're coming to try to resolve and solve. And I think there's so many more conversations about it now, which is great. And hopefully we should continue the conversation. And I'd love to hear, you can DM any of us if you have any private questions or you want to ask anything more about it. But we will continue the conversation and continue advocating and supporting. And thank you guys for just being aligned and helping.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you
Take
guys.
care.
I'm going to save this to
Please
the feed now.
do.
Okay, bye.
Take care.